Thank you. That's good. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are on Trish TV, the Shift and Lift show, where we talk about the mindset to shift and lift. And it is, as we go live, it is Remembrance Day. And so you might be watching this later on and you're wondering, why is she wearing a poppy? Well, that's why. And I think it ties in beautifully. We didn't plan it this way because we've got American Thanksgiving coming up. But I think it's lovely that the broadcast is going out and the theme is thankfulness on Remembrance Day, or as Americans call it, Veterans Day. And my guest is Lisa Ryan, and she saves a lot of companies a lot of heartache so that they don't lose their staff, because she's teaching them about the value of, well, many things, among which we're focusing on today is the value of gratitude. And we are going to meet Lisa right after this. The strongest prison bars are in your head. Leaders and teams, it's time for a jailbreak. There we go. And Lisa Ryan's here and she's watching and she made a comment already. Yay. Lisa, welcome to the Shift and Lift show. I'm excited to have you here.
I am excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, so good. So good. And I love that gratitude is not just something that is something that your grandmother used to say to, be grateful and be thankful, that it's not just about good manners, that there's a real power in it. Lisa, tell me, how did you come to the point where you thought this is more important than what people realize? And the industries that you work with, they're not the sort of, let's say, the kind of touchy-feely, softy kind of, show gratitude to get the sale kind of stuff. Tell us about your background and how you got to be in this particular area.
Sure. It was 2009, and I went with 3 of my friends to a 4-day seminar, complete with a fire walk. And so needless to say, when we were driving home after that, we were pretty excited about it. We also knew from previous experience that if we didn't keep the conversation going, that life would go right back to where it was before. And of course, we didn't want that to happen again. So we opened up a Facebook thread, and every day we shared with each other, people we met, experiences that we had, things we learned. And then what my friend Mike said, well, why don't we write down 3 things that we're grateful for? Okay. And we did that every day, and we held each other accountable. And it was that practice that really changed everything. I knew that being grateful was good because, of course, that's the way that we were raised. But I really never knew that it was more than kind of this feel-good emotion that we ascribed to it. And so after I started noticing the difference in my life, not only the difference from my husband, but the difference in my sales career just exploded. It seemed like I was doing half the work and making twice the money,
Wow.
Just from having this change in attitude, bringing in gratitude. But the funny thing about it is that I was still full-time in sales, knowing that I wanted to be a speaker, but I really didn't know what I was going to speak about. I was in sales, but I really didn't want to speak about sales. And I had done some network marketing, and again, wasn't comfortable there. And when I had this experience with gratitude, I knew to the core of my being that was the message that I was supposed to bring. And so 11 years later, 12 years total, but officially 11 years later, because that's when I went into speaking full time. But that has been the message, and it resonates, because we all need that connection, especially in the workplace.
We really, really do, especially in a decade. Well, it's not just this decade, but that transition to contract work and feeling like, you're less connected. And even in the last couple of years with people working from home, there is that less connection, and we really do need to remember to stay in touch with people and to be grateful for what we do have and focus on the good. That's terrific.
And
So
letting people know that you appreciate them and sincerely catching them in the act of doing things well. There's too many times that we assume that people know how we feel about them. Oh, she knows that I love her. Oh, he knows that I'm grateful for him. And we really want to get the words out and express that to people.
oh, great. Now let's explore that a little bit further, because as you were speaking, I was thinking, often when we can express our gratitude to someone, is there a difference between um, thank you for being you, thank you for being my lovely daughter, or as opposed to what you did was really helpful, thank you for that. Like the difference between who they are and uh, what they've actually done.
Well, the more specific that you can be, the better. Like if I went up to you and I just said, "Hey, Trish, thanks." And you'd be like,
For what?
why? For what? Or it's just because, oh, okay, she was told that she needs to start thanking people, so she's going to start thanking people. But if I can say, Trish, I really appreciate the detail that you put into the show, the time that we spent having the conversation beforehand so that we were bringing the right message and all of these things working through that. I really appreciate you. It's like, now you know that I'm paying attention. And it's the same thing in the workplace. When an employee knows that their boss is paying attention to them and catching them in the act of doing things well. I had one program participant, and I loved his quote. He said, Lisa, when I do something wrong, I get recognized 100% of the time. And when I do something right, it rarely gets noticed. And we need to flip that.
So what about those bosses who would have the attitude of, you get paid, that's how you get thanked, what do you want, a medal?
Yeah, they are the
How about
bane
them?
of my existence. Well, I shouldn't say they're the bane of my existence, because when companies do that, it ensures my speaking career continues to be
Well,
successful. But it's with the great resignation that we're facing right now, because we're coming out of the pandemic where people are used to working from home. And, now when they're having companies that are saying, oh, no, you're coming back to work full time, they're like, no, I am shifting my priorities. So it is so much more than the money. It's like we're looking at our whole lives and we're looking at the different priorities right now. So as an employee, if they feel valued, if they feel appreciated, if they know their boss, if their boss knows them and feels that they care about that person, that employee is much more likely to stay. You have people all the time saying, I can't compete with these big companies. I don't have enough money to pay these people. Yeah, but if they go somewhere and it's a horrible, toxic environment, it doesn't matter how much money you're making.
that's
Those
right.
employees are going to leave and you're going to have that churn. So if we can focus on the basic essentials of human connection, then we can actually pay employees less than that person, that company with the deep pockets down the street. This is not an excuse to not pay them market wage, okay? But it does take the compensation as the very first and most important thing. After a competitive wage, after an employee is making enough to pay their bills, make their living, and is proud of the salary that they have, then after that, that's off the table. We want to create those connections.
Yeah. And I'd love to ask people watching, or they might be watching the recording, because I do keep an eye on the comments as they come through afterwards. Have you left a good paying job, a well paying job, because you were just unhappy with the environment and you felt unappreciated? I'm curious to know. This is being broadcast to LinkedIn, to YouTube, and to Facebook. So wherever you are, that'd be interesting to hear from you about that. And by all means, like and subscribe while you're there, while you're here watching. So that's good. I love that. And so quite often we don't notice the good things that people do because we're so busy. You know, we can just so busy that we miss that focus. So I know that certain personality types are more prone to notice and appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
So how do, and I mean, there's all sorts of personality tests, but let's take, you know, the basic one, you know, the disc one where you've got, you know, your bossy boots and your socializer and all those things. And then you've got, one of them is that nurturing personality that is thoughtful and caring. And they're actually the ones, my husband is one of these. He is one who will not complain. He will make a suggestion. If something's not working for him, he might mention it again. But if that gets ignored, he takes that in. And he's a gun salesman. He's very good at it. He's a contractor, commission only. And so he needs, if your staff are commission only, you need to look after them.
Right.
But he's that personality type that you can push and you can push and you can push, and then he's like, enough, and I'm gone. And you cannot talk him out of it. You can't do it. So what would you say to those who would say, look, I just like the sanguines, like I just forget because, you know, I get busy, or, you know, I'm focused and, you know, it's something. How do you help them to remember to do it?
Well, especially for the D's in the disc,
That's it.
the dominant people, the bossy ones, when you can put the numbers behind it and show them that companies that have an engaged workforce are 120% more profitable, they're 20% more productive, they have 5 times fewer safety accidents. And I mean, the numbers go on and on and on. So if we can put that into focus and see the numbers and see the results. So maybe you're putting pen to paper as far as what your turnover rate is today. And then by making these sincere, genuine, authentic changes in your personality, not just a checkbox, but how did that work 6 months, a year later? What changes are you seeing? I just had a gentleman on my podcast the other day, and he put pen to paper and found that by the time they bring somebody into their firm, they have spent $32,000. And they start way before that person starts. You know, they make the offer, and the day the offer is accepted is when people in the company start sending emails and building that anticipation. And then they show up on the first day and they have a welcoming party for them, and their desk is set up and their business cards are set up and their passwords are set up. So that person feels special from day one. Because otherwise they come in, you just put $32,000 out to bring this person in. Their desk isn't set up. The receptionist is like, oh, I didn't know we had somebody working today. And then somebody calls them that they had an interview with a couple weeks ago. Hey, you still looking? They're gone. Or they ghost you at lunch. It's like they go to lunch, they never come back because you haven't made an impression on them. So sometimes it's being willing to get out of your comfort zone for the better good. And you brought up the personality style. So it's also a point of finding out from employees how they like to be recognized, looking for signs. Is it one-to-one? Is it in person? Is it a handwritten note? Is it taking that person to lunch? Is it gifts? I mean, there's so many things that we can look at to personalize that gratitude and appreciation for, because everybody's different.
Yes, they are. And you would have people in your staff who might be better than you at finding that stuff out because they are thoughtful. They do notice things and they love to do that sort of thing, and they can let you know. And as you were, I was visualizing this new person starting, and I was also visualizing the person who's expected to train them, because I've started jobs where I'm the young trainee and the person training me has seen me as a nuisance and they haven't learned how to train. So when they say, oh, you do this, you do this, you do this, and you don't get it. And in an earlier life, I trained as a teacher. And so I remember asking questions to try and create hooks to help me remember. And this young woman, got defensive at me. What are you questioning me for? I just told you what to do. And I just went, wow. And I lasted at that job maybe 4 months, and I went, I don't need this.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
and that's important with the buddy system, which is another just great practice of when you have that person starting on day one, you're assigning them a lunch buddy or somebody that they can go and ask all of their stupid questions to,
Yeah.
and somebody that just is checking in on them. It's a colleague, maybe it's somebody from a different department that is around their same level as far as within the organization, because we all know that when you start a new job, that very first person that says hello or that you go to lunch with or that you befriend, that person is really your best friend throughout the time you're working with that organization. So if we can kind of put that into place and finding the employees that are good employees, that are enthusiastic, you certainly don't want your, negative Nelly to be the one that like you had that experience with.
Oh, I do. And know your trainers. I was a trainer for another company, and we got together with it was in photography, and we had those booths in the shopping centers, and we all got together from the different areas. And my trainee said to me, and by the way, if you're watching, feel free to make a comment, and I'll watch for it there, because we'd love to hear what you think too. But my trainee said to me, oh, I was talking to the other trainee, and her trainer said, you know what, this is all BS. He said, you go, yes, 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 while you're in the training. But when you get back to work, you just do it your way. Don't worry about what they think.
Mm.
And I thought, wow. And I just got onto I said, no. I said, I make a lot of money at this company because I do it right. And I know what I'm doing. I know what sells. I know what doesn't, so don't get into that habit, because it'll just, but, talk about ungrateful.
Right.
You've got, it baffled me that, and it's selfish too, because you're undermining when you run down the company that has invested in you and provides opportunities for this new person. You're undermining their career as well.
Right.
So
And you want to
brilliant.
make that connection. You want to
Do
find people who love what they do. And this is not being happy, happy, joy, joy all the time. None of us are going to be happy 24/7. But if we can, for the most part, enjoy what we do, enjoy a part of our day, enjoy the people that we work with, again, we're going to work much harder. We're going to be more productive, and we're going
yeah,
to stay with that company longer than if those things aren't happening.
that's true. And you've just made me realize, like when you said about the happy, joy, joy, not everything is happy,
No.
but a company that appreciates its staff, that person who has got a suggestion because something needs to be fixed, there's a problem, they are more likely to feel safe coming to the boss and saying, hey, look, this is actually causing a problem. Can we work out something to do about it? And then that boss is smart to actually be grateful for what some would call a complaint,
Right.
because it actually, and I mean, customer complaints are brilliant because it gives you an opportunity to fix things, right?
Right.
So it is that mindset shift. I love it. So good.
And it,
So
it gives you the opportunity when things go wrong to make an even greater impression than if things are running smoothly all the time. A bad customer experience that you can turn around and rock it out and surprise them
yeah,
with the level of attention and detail that you give back to them, versus, again, we expect good, well, we don't necessarily expect good customer service anymore. But when something goes wrong and you have the one employee that's saying whatever, and the other employees that, oh, let me see what I can do, and they go above and beyond to take care of you, you are much more likely to come back to that, to do more business with that store than if it had been an average interaction.
oh, I love that. It's so true. It's just so true. And you make a very good point when you say, we sort of don't expect it so much anymore. Have you noticed that it's particularly Americans? It does happen here in Australia, but with the pandemic, and when you're watching this, it may be long gone behind us, but the impact of it on people's mental health, it's like there's almost like a coming, there's almost like a coming PTSD, that people have had their nerves frayed. They've been under stress for so long that we think, well, it's over now. We're all back to work. Everything's back to normal. As you said, some people won't want to go back to normal. That gratitude is like ointment, on a wound. That tenderness, that pausing to be tender, to be attentive and kind, quite deliberately. There's more healing in that than anything else. I just, there's so much more to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in a tough year, the gratitude practice that I have had, since 2009, I mean, that has gotten me through. And being a full-time speaker whose business completely, evaporated overnight, there were lots of things that I tried. I had a 30-day gratitude challenge. I think I did 30 days worth of videos. I had a employee retention summit. I started a podcast. I started acrylic painting, which is, I think, probably the greatest thing that I did. But and there was some times, and I'm not going to lie, that it was really dark. It was hard to pull yourself out because, like you said, a little bit of PTSD. I mean, it's going to be one of those things that you remember the exact date and time of when you found out that the governor was closing the state and there was stay-at-home orders, and that first anniversary and that first birthday of all of those type of things. But when we can find the good, when we can find the good in the relationships, in the time that we got to spend together. I mean, my husband and I, we had our 25th wedding anniversary this year. And we were really grateful that it didn't happen last year. Of course, this year with the 2021 was pretty much the same as 2020 when it came to fabulous vacations. But getting to spend every day with him for 8 months, we haven't had that kind of time together in 25 years.
Yeah,
we really enjoyed, we have a great backyard. We sat outside, socially distanced from the neighbors. They would come over. When you look back on all the high points, there was a lot of them. And if you can count them all the bad things that happen, all the highlights that happen, there's probably going to be, the longer list is going to be the good thing.
Just love it. I just love it. And for people who might be thinking, well, that's all right for Lisa. She's got a nice backyard. She's got a nice husband, that sort of thing. I can tell you, she's absolutely right. You find things. I spent 8 months incarcerated looking for things to be grateful for because I knew that was important. So there's always treasure. Treasure is found in dark places. If you look for it, you can find it. I want to, before we wrap up, I want to make sure that people are able to find you. I've got lisaryanspeaks.com is your website. This is Lisa's website. She will be brilliant for your organization to come and talk to your staff, to whatever organization you might be. And Lisa, you do more than keynoting, don't you?
Yes, I do training. I do consulting. I work with a lot of manufacturing and trade associations. I also work with a lot in long-term care, finance. I mean, face it, we're all facing a market where it's hard enough to find employees to begin with. So you really have to cherish the ones that you have. And that's really what my programs center around, is finding those gratitude strategies or grategies to create that culture of appreciation that helps you to keep your top talent from becoming someone else's.
Oh, I like that. Just keep your top talent from becoming someone else's. That's what Lisa does. She's got ramp up your engagement, ramp up your leadership, ramp up your motivation. You can go to Lisa's website and look there and get in touch with her from there, Lisa. And also you're on LinkedIn.
Yes, yeah. And I post a lot. I post a lot of resources on LinkedIn, my podcast, my videos, articles there. That's really a great one-stop shop.
Great. And you've got lots of blogs. There's lots to do there, lots to find out. You have your contact page, brilliant, that they can get in touch with you. So, and you're on all of these socials, so that's great. Let's go back to here. Lisa, it has been an absolute delight having you on. I feel like I could talk to you, and it's not a patronizing thing, like just be grateful. Just be grateful you've even got a job. Like there's genuine benefit to yourself, but also, look, it's good to be grateful anyway. It's
Right.
good to remember and to be grateful, and not just, we love people for who they are, talking family. So we love and affirm them for who they are. They don't have to earn your love by what they do, but we do want to encourage them and be grateful specifically for the things that they do in detail, because that is what you'll get more of.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, love that. Love that. Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on. And you can get in touch with Lisa. Lisa speaks, LisaRyanSpeaks.com. You can get in touch with me, Trish Jenkins, speakertrishjenkins.com. And remember to look up Lisa's podcast and keep watching the Shift and Lift Mindset Show. And we'll see you next time. When I click on the button that is my... I did that really smoothly, didn't I? Here we go.